Is it at number 3? Node Wars. Bitcoiners fighting with each other is good for Bitcoin. It's from Scoresby. 20 comments, 12,000 sats. June 24th, Bitcoin territory. Keyan, what's this?
Yeah, so this is like sort of later stages of the op return debate. And this is like the manifestation of kind of the diplomatic unrest that happened around the relaxing of the op return relay policy limits. And so what people have begun to do is run in light of the op return limit debate, which is where Core decided to relax the op return limit, or there was a PR where there was an op return limit, and then Core eventually decided to relax the op return limit, and a lot of the community protested, and we had a lot of debate about it. That's mostly debate is kind of finished because Core made a decision on it, but now we're seeing how people are reacting to it, and what we're seeing is people running alternative implementations of Core. Um, and one of which is Knots, which we has been memed pretty heavily, and there's been a lot of podcasts with people who are pro Knots. And then there's Libre Relay, which is even more relaxed mempool policy or standardness rules than even Bitcoin Core has. And Libre Relay is a fork of Bitcoin Core, like Bitcoin Knots is a fork of Bitcoin Core, but it tries to make all of its standardness rules match to the extent that it can, uh, and still run without being DOSed, match consensus rules. And so it's very liberal. Like it has no op return limits at all, um, and it has it supports replace by fee for even I think transactions that haven't signaled it. Um, I think more recently it supports transactions with a lower fee rate than um, one sat per V byte. Um, anyway, so it has very relaxed rules. And then Knott's proponents, Chris Guida, perhaps one of the most vocal and active Knott's proponents, he implemented something he called Garbage Man that pretends to be a Libre Relay node, but is not a Libre Relay node, and effectively Sybil attacks these Libre Relay nodes. And so they're kind of at war, kind of like a soft, kind of a software, like literally a soft war on relay policy. And there's been a lot of interesting debate about how you attack one or the other, how you defend those attacks. And Scoresby does a great job of kind of summarizing everything that's happening, kind of like a war correspondent, sort of, taking information from the front lines and bringing it to us, and talks about um, what's going on. Anyway, that's more or less the summary of this post, and it's kind of the reason why the op return stuff ended up where it was is because, well, at least for some people, there's kind of no end to trying to the extent to which you'll have to mess with relay policy to defend against certain kinds of spam, or what Knots folks would call spam. Um, and similarly, with this Libre Relay Knots battle, it's really hard to tell uh, which node is bad or good when you connect to them, because there's no exact way to figure it out, because things aren't so binary, and even if they were, um, they a peer that you connect to can lie to you about whether they're black or white, good or bad. Um, and so that's kind of it's interesting that it kind of that property keeps emerging in Bitcoin's peer-to-peer network. That just things aren't clearly good or bad, um, and you can't easily detect whether something is good or bad. and that's kind of, why this might never end. We might be doing this kind of thing forever.
So I'm on Chris's GitHub right now, and I'm on the Bitcoin Knots GitHub. I don't know if you're on there because you can't see my screen, but he has on there. It says
Hmm.
Bitcoin Knots connects to Bitcoin peer-to-peer network to download, fully validate Bitcoin blocks and transactions. Where is it at right here? I just saw it. Did I lose it? Where did I see it? I just saw something that looked.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Did I
I'm
lose
trying
you?
to
Oh,
find. There was something I just saw right now when you were talking. I was going to ask you a question about it, but okay, this it goes. So it has a thing that says testing. He said testing and code review is the bottleneck for development. We get more pull requests than we can review and test on short notice. Please be patient and help out by testing other people's pull requests. And remember, this is a security critical project where any mistake might cost people lots of money. So in this situation, Keon, like if the average pleb, the average stacker is watching this, should we even bother running this, or is this more for people that are like Chris to and like Super Testnet down in Mexico to be running this kind of stuff?
yeah, I would say my recommendation, and I'm sure Chris and people who are running knots in the software systems would disagree. My recommendation would be to largely stay out of this stuff, and until we have until either knots or Chris's project has as much critical review and reproducible builds to the same degree, and kind of all the security and practices that Core does around the releases. um, I would recommend continuing to run Core. um, for advanced users who are capable of doing this review and are more confident in their ability to assess security on their own, maybe you do want to play around a bit and assert your preferences and try to enter this war. But it's you don't want to show, like, it's the cliche of like showing up to a gunfight with a knife. This is a fundamentally like a software level, and not just script kiddie stuff. This is like protocol level stuff, but not just protocol stuff. It's like incentivized protocol stuff. So very high degree of sophistication and complexity required to understand and assess the security of these things, and whether they're good or bad. And so if you're not technical, I would I would forego getting involved at this stage and run Core. If you are technical, so at least as technical as someone like I would say Chris, if you maybe can contribute to these projects, maybe I think then you can begin to make that decision. But if you're a pleb, just run Core. Keep your Bitcoin safe. Don't worry about relay policy. Um, this is like a very niche kind of issue that has been blown up into like a central
Yeah, that's what I wanted. That's the point I
issue.
want to get across to the stackers who are listening to this. I mean, um, when I first came into Bitcoin and, I hung out with a lot of developers, and it really took me a really long time to understand that a lot of developers, and, bless their souls, I love them all. Some of my best friends in the world. But, a lot of this stuff takes time to build, right? Like it takes years. And, some of the things like really take time. And not only does it take time, but like you need consensus. And then not only do you need consensus, but you need like a whole community effort behind it too, as well. And then that takes time. And then just seeing how long it took just for like, I remember when Dusty used to come around talking about, what was that called?
Splicing.
Splicing. I remember I'd be like, really? Like, we're going to be able to do this. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, oh, that's so cool. and then like and nothing happened. And then like a year later, it's like how's splicing going? Oh, it's amazing, and nothing happened. And then all of a sudden, it just happened like overnight. And then before you know it, like it was everywhere. And now we just like take it for granted. Um, so it just realized like a lot of this stuff just takes time. Like it really does, and it takes like a whole group of people to make it happen, and it needs like multiple iterations of it and like multiple groups of people to make it happen. But it starts with like one person. So that would be my advice, stackers. Just like um, definitely cheer them on if they're your friends. Like Chris is a great guy. I love Chris. He's one of my favorite developers. He's a good friend of mine, and every time I see him, I give him a big old hug. But yeah, cheer him on. But it's just it's an uphill battle for sure.
Yeah, I think it's just a niche. This is like kind of a niche technical thing that we're all kind of talking about because we have nothing better to talk about. For
Yeah,
those of us who don't want to talk about Bitcoin treasury companies,
yeah, for sure.
this is kind of what we're left with. Is what we got.
Yeah,
This is what we're talking about.
yeah, for
But
sure.
it's not something. It's not something you should be. You shouldn't be playing with fire if you
Whatever,
don't really understand it.
whatever happened to weren't they gonna get the Volschool? Were they gonna get Volschool to do? How do you pronounce his name? Volschool? Is it Volschool?
Yeah,
Volschool.
Voskuil, I think.
Volschool. Weren't they gonna get him to help Core or something? Did that ever come to fruition?
I don't think he wants to help Core. He has his own um, library uh, that he's creating. I think he's built a node on it, but basically the Bitcoin protocol as a library that you can use in other Bitcoin implementations. I think the Voskuil's point is that Bitcoin's protocol is should be kind of this independent thing. The consensus rules should be their own thing, and then you should be able to, on top of that, create whatever other types of software that you want
Mm,
independently, so that Bitcoin Core and Knots will never have an accidental chain split,
mm,
and they can both use something like Voskuil's library in them, and
mm,
always know that they'll uh, be the same, representing the same, because Bitcoin is just these consensus rules. They'll both be Bitcoin, even if they have different opinions about things like standardness rules and relay policy. So that's kind of Voskuil's idea. He also has a lot of other interesting ideas, and he's been working on it basically for 10 years now, like how to make it so you can do a full block download and verification, in a short time span, a couple of hours, I think is
mm,
his goal. So that's kind of what he's working on. I don't think he's going to help Core. I know Core is talking to him a lot and seeing if there's anything that maybe he's figured out that they haven't been paying enough attention to. But I don't, and I think he would help out Core to the extent that he can, as far as information sharing. But I don't suspect he'll be contributing to Core, given that this seems to be his life mission, is figuring out this lib Bitcoin thing.
mm. Yeah, cool.